Again, I never read any comic books. Where I'm from and how my family is, there is almost no way for me to get any DC comics to read. All my comic book knowledge is from the movies, TV shows, and any on-screen projects. Adaptation means changes, and as long as they fit into the storyline and make them better, I can accept them. With that out of the way, let's begin. It seems just like yesterday where Justice League War was released, and after so long, finally a connected DC universe that is at least somewhat worth my time. The DCAMU is definitely not perfect, far from it, but at least I feel like it has that feel of retelling the stories we have already known but trying to tell them in a new way. Although not all of them pan out, at least I can feel something when watching most of them. But capitalism is king of art. Profit is what dictates which art is worth keeping, and sadly the DCAMU was cut. What's even more sad is what comes after it. The new Tomorrowverse has a new movie, their first official Justice League movie. Oh god, let's talk about it. First of all, the movie starts in a very interesting way by focusing on Wonder Woman in a story that is sort of paying homage to A Fistful of Dollar. I mean, any western can find inspiration from that movie. I was scratching my head the whole time because I thought I was watching an episode of DC Showcase. If you don't know, DC has this short film type of thing where each film tells a story of a character, one about 20 minutes or so. My favorite one is Death. Definitely go watch that. The movie starts out that way. The story is pretty decent. Diana goes through some changes that are quite detailed and enjoyable to watch, but I started to realize that they might do a separate stories thing and connect them all in the end, which worries me because most of the movies that did this didn't end well. But these 20 minutes are surprisingly very enjoyable and let us look into the heart and soul of Diana as a hero, but due to the plot needing her to do something else, the story just ended, and once the Wonder Woman storylines end, we get another short story, this time regarding Batman. This one is the start of the downhill. I have no idea what this movie is doing anymore. At this point, the story is boring. Just someone else that is not Batman dragging Batman along with the journey and having a pretty underwhelming fight that leads to nothing. Warlord's motivations and reason to do what he does is so unconvincing, as I don't know anything about what he is saying due to the film only let him talk about it instead of showing his story. And Batman has absolutely no use in the story other than connecting to the next 20-minute story. I'm gonna be honest, my eyes started to close when I was watching this part of the film. The next 20-minute story is Superman living in a black and white world where a mysterious alien invasion happened and he has to find out what happened. The mystery and suspense is pretty decent in my opinion, and it leads to a very boring chase scene which does a whole lot of nothing, and it leads to the next part, finally connecting everything together. This 1 hour is a complete bore fest after the Wonder Woman story, and even that is not that interesting either if you really want to deal into it. It was better than the latter two, especially the Batman one, but it leads to nowhere, and none of the stories challenge the characters to any psychological or moral dilemma that keeps them growing. They are just a giant setup to waste time. The first time I sat down, I actually fell asleep after 1 hour or so. I had to go to sleep and continue the rest the next day. It's so boring. No character, no story, no nothing. Only the Wonder Woman story has some character dilemmas, but even those are not enough to save those first hour. Then we get into the real story, and the twist is so unnecessarily complex. Not that I don't understand it, I do, it's just why? And none of these complex twists and turns are explained through visual storytelling, just characters dumping all of them in words, which is still a major problem in the universe. In this universe, the art style is clean and modern, but the dialogue timing is just so not for me. The characters always say a line, pause for like 2 seconds before speaking again. Maybe they are trying to make every line important, feels like the characters are sinking in what was being said, but every line, it just makes the pace so freaking mother flipping slow. This whole universe is like that, not just this one movie, and it did not make the story any more interesting or impactful. It makes it even more boring because like 30% of the time is just characters staying still after delivering a line. What a waste of time. And the big fight finally begins even though the story is not even being completed, which is a total joke as the whole connected story that is supposed to reveal everything apparently through exposition, and they couldn't even able to fit all the exposition into this movie. And this is like 10 minutes longer than the average DC animated movie. My god, and why is this movie called Justice League when there are only 4 of them? Where are the rest of them? Are they still reliving the nightmare of fighting Hal Jordan? I mean, I still do. And the story also didn't explain how it began. Why are the 4 League members here? What happened? Why can't they still remember anything? What is going on? You have time to explain the unnecessary plot of how Mongol has this prophecy about his world-ending weapon, but don't think that maybe explaining how this film takes place is more important? And the big third act climax battle are just like, there is no battle. That's all I can say. What kind of third act is this? Just the heroes fighting faceless goons? Sorry, fighting is a strong word. Beating those goons? And it was supposed to use this big John Jones reveal to support this climax, but it didn't work. As I said, I have no idea what happened before, and all this exposition never explained anything. And you know what the worst part is? It suddenly ended out of nowhere because there is a sequel coming, which I have no idea what the fuck is going on. The Tomorrowverse is supposed to be the new DC animated movie universe that can make profit for DC and hopefully reduce the backlash of people branding it as an edgy and childish take on the lore, because it has Batwoman fighting in her underwear for no reason and lots of gory stuff. I mean, I do get the point, but this just let Wonder Woman in ancient bikinis for no reason whatsoever. How is this a step in the right direction? Yes, the DCAMU has a lot of missteps and flaws, but they do have a central story or some lesson for their titular character to learn and grow to some degree for each movie. The Tomorrowverse feels like a bunch of movies where they are focusing on creating big DC events and don't really put any thoughts into the characters, if you know what I mean. They focus on the big twists that are either bad or doesn't make sense, and the characters' growth are mildly interesting at best and none of them are memorable. The best one in my mind is still Man of Tomorrow. At least we get a story of how Clark is dealing with the dilemma of either showing the world who he really is and how will that impact his life. The rest of them are just blah. Oh! The movie is structured in a way that makes everything feel pointless. The stories are not interesting at all. The complexity doesn't justify the twist. The animation and art style is still the same as previous film. If you love that, good for you. The story also didn't justify the movie's title, and most of all, it ended when the story started. Absolutely bore-fest. I fell asleep the first time, and during the second sitting, I was still fighting to keep my eyes open, and I put the finale of The Last Thing Told Me on hold to watch this. What the hell? What a waste of time. What a disappointment. Now it makes me feel bad for talking shit about legions of superheroes. No, I don't. That movie sucks too, but at least more watchable than this one. I stand by that. So I looked it up, and apparently another Justice League movie is about to come. Man, I know the DCAMU is not great, but I do miss movies like The Death of Superman. Great on its own, fit into the universe, focusing on character and the story drives him forward and vice versa. Looks like we're gonna get stuck here for a while until this universe doesn't make enough money and gets scrapped so another one can replace it. Fingers crossed. I hope the next installment can be better, although I highly doubt that. Just something needs to change. The storytelling maybe focus on the character more instead of the events, but it's too late, so.
Move along.